when a plant grow up, some plants go straight up and don't have any limbs. And some plants grow up and they have limbs. So when you have to extract a limb, it's like extracting a limb from the main plant. So my daughters, my family, and when you have to move from one place to the next, it's a decision to leave one and go to the next. But I mean, we had a bond that is an unbreakable bond. But when time to move on, you just have to move.
Research indicates that approximately 47% of Black immigrants to the United States originate from the Caribbean, with Haiti and Jamaica being the top two sending countries. Yet, Caribbean immigrants in the US often have their identities and stories distilled by monolithic portrayals of reggae music, roti, jerk chicken, carnival, and a Rastaman saying, "Yeah, man." These stereotypes deny the rich heterogeneity and depth contained in the authentic and hybrid narratives of Caribbean immigrants.
The research tells us that Black immigrants are often invisibilized in dominant societal and institutional discourses about race and immigrant identity in the United States, as Black immigrant identity is often subsumed under that of African American identity. Even when Black immigrant identity is recognized, Caribbean immigrants frequently find that their identities are placed in stereotyped boxes, or their ethnogeographic identity is negated, and they are presented as a monolith with Black immigrants from other world regions. There is a need to disentangle the Caribbean immigrant story from the other immigrant narratives so that Caribbean immigrant voices can be amplified. This project offers a brief yet enlightening view into the narratives of Caribbean immigrants from Haiti, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago as they journey to and settle in the United States. The project invites viewers to engage with Caribbean immigrant narratives beyond the stereotypes.
And I remember the plane taking off, and I said, "God, if you are not going with me, I don't want to go." That was the prayer that I prayed.
I think it's important that immigrant stories are told. When I moved here in the US, I didn't have anyone, because I'm a first generation of immigrants. If I only, if I could go somewhere like on YouTube or somewhere to find the experience of a young lady like me with English as her third language, coming to the US with a lot of dreams, a lot of aspiration, I think that could have been very beneficial to me.
The decision to migrate is complex, fraught with the pain of leaving family behind, the fear of starting over in a new place, and the bright expectations for the future. Through it all, faith is a constant source of strength.
Till then, I didn't want to move to the US. So I spent 5 years. He went to Haiti to visit me. I came here, but I've never decided to stay because I was scared. I had my life there, so I was working. I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do? I have to start over, go back to school. I spoke English. I speak English, but English is like the third language back in Haiti.
So I wasn't intimidated or fearful or anything. I was more confident about coming because it's a place that I didn't want to come. So I had no expectations.
You know, they always say the grass is green on the other side. And of course, we always want to see the world. You know, we always want to see what the world looks like and what the United States look like. So, I mean, it was everybody's dream to go somewhere new, especially America or England, someplace. So there was that excitement of getting there.
She touched on things that touched my heart in the terms of when she said, oh, you know, you can go to school, you can go to college, you could get a that was the main one, you can go to college. And I think once I heard that, that was like a dream came alive. The hope now was always to go to college, right? So I think I latched onto that and I grabbed onto that. And I think what America does is give you all these possibilities. That when I was in Trinidad, your world is, I would say in Trinidad, my world is very limited. So I dreamt about doing great things, but the dream still had a cap on it, right? So I had a school and my dream was to get so many kids in the school and stuff, but I didn't go beyond that in my dream. What I noticed when in America, when you start hanging out with people and you start talking to different people, now you realize your dreams are a little higher, your dreams are a little more wider. You have all this possibility like roaming around now.
I wouldn't frame it as me deciding to migrate. I would frame it as my parents deciding that the best thing for me is to migrate to the US. Coming from Jamaica, we don't get those choices to decide per se. Your parents decide for you. And so I wanted to migrate, but the decision was left up to my dad and my stepmom.
It was very scary, and I had a lot of questions. Even in the airplane, I was thinking about a lot of things. But I prayed. I'm a believer, so I told God, you know what? I probably I don't know what's coming for me, but I'm sure you know, and I'm just gonna trust you.
I was right where God wanted me. Then there came a crossword where I got a word of prophecy that actually changed my life. And the word of prophecy actually operates today. But it was the defining moment that actually had me coming out of the shadows and working like Miranda would.
I'm a person like this that I don't think I worry too much. Really, I don't think I worry too much. You see, one just have to have faith and trust God. You know? And things will happen.
My evangelist Morgan, she told me, she said, remember Philippians 4 and verse 13, I can do all things through Christ. She said, I know you're smart, you can do anything you want, but remember, you have a responsibility to God. And of course, she said, I have a responsibility to the church. And so I haven't always done the right thing. I haven't always been on the straight, but always come back to it because that's something that I grew up in. And that is something she reminded me of when I was leaving. And I just never forgot that. Always remember that regardless of what level I achieve, that is why I achieve it. It is not because of me in and of myself. It is because of God. So I keep God centered.
The narratives reveal that issues with translated linguistics, accent, dialect, and the challenges of learning English as a new language impact the experiences of Caribbean immigrants, influencing their self-perception and their relationships with others around them.
Being Haitian is not for the weak. It's not for the weak. But coming here, you have to face race difference, you know. You have to face the language barrier. Like, okay, I'm scared of speaking because people won't understand what I'm going to say. I don't know how to pronounce that word. If I go to an office, I don't know how to. And sometimes because of this fear, you cannot, you know, make your point. You can't really ask for what you really need. Even sometimes if your right is being violated, you cannot talk about that because of this language. Because this is not my language, this is new to me, I have to work harder. I have to, you know, things that I think are simple, they are not, because this is not my language. This is an environment that I'm used to. That really shaped me, and everything that I'm doing, I feel like I have to make sure that I get it done, you know, twice. Make sure that I review that twice. I had to take my PMP test, my project management professional test. I took almost a year to prepare that because I said I'm not gonna fail, and I'm gonna take it one time. So everything that I'm doing, I make sure that I'm getting over prepared because I don't want to fail.
One of the self-esteem issues that I had, I don't know, I was very, very, very conscious of my accent. Extremely conscious, because I see people now and, you know, they don't, now I don't pay attention, you know, I don't care. But at that time, I was very, say, and it made me like aware that I would say certain words certain way, and people would be like, you know, would be like, what did you say? I remember clearly one time I say, I'm gonna let that toe out. And you know, talking about chicken, towing out. And the lady kept saying, what? And she figured, she's like, oh, thaw, you're gonna let it thaw out. And I felt so bad and self-conscious because nobody had told me like the correct way you say the word, or no, you know, like the way we say that. You know, I lived in Trinidad. Everybody understood what each other said. But she, you know, I became very self-conscious of my accent, I would say, in that I would pay attention to the way people say words.
When I moved here, I developed I don't know if it's low self-esteem, but based on my accent. I was scared to speak because I knew I had an accent. I didn't want people to judge me. Sometimes when I go to a place, I speak, you know, very low because I don't want people to notice my accent. And it took me a long, very, very long time to embrace my accent because it's part of my identity. Now I own my accent, I own my culture, but before it was very difficult for me to, you know, talk to people. Sometimes they say, oh, you have an accent, where are you from? And once you tell me that, you shut me off because I'm like, oh, I'm different. People are gonna think I don't speak English very well. I'm like, oh, wait, I don't want to speak because that really, really I think that's one of the big barriers I had. So your accent is going nowhere because you came here as an adult. You have your accent, you have to embrace your accent. This is part of your identity. This is part of your culture. So your accent is part of yourself. And
When it comes to language barrier, most places I go, they're standard American. Or the Americans speak so fast that sometimes you hardly hear what they say. So you have to be a very good listener to at least understand your way around. But presently now, where I work now, we have we have Indians, we have Chinese, all different people work there, all different kind of language, maybe 5, 6 different type of languages there. It goes two ways. You have to be able to listen. When you listen, then you will hear.
Then that's where I learned globalization, and I learned to appreciate differences too. So appreciating differences is something that I learned in different spaces. And I loved it.
When I started going into white people's homes. And in Trinidad, I had never met a Jewish person in my life. So when I go into the Jewish home and I see how they keep kosher and that whole eye-opening experience, and realize, oh, these are the people that they were talking about in the Bible, like all this stuff. I saw that people lived a different way. Remember, I came from Trinidad. I came into a Caribbean house. I went into a Caribbean community with more Caribbean. This was my first experience into a new culture, a new world. So I started to absorb that, and I was like, hey, we don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. That's okay. I love roti. You can't get me to stop eating that. I love rice and peas. But I also experience steak and things that I would have never had. So I'm not disregarding that. I'm just saying that it opened up other places and other things.
Participants' narratives of economic navigation is diverse, with many sharing examples of how they leverage their religious, linguistic, and social capitals to navigate the transition.
Finding a job wasn't that easy, because I need to have all these requirements. One time I nearly got a job, and just because I don't have the Sky High School certificate, I couldn't get through. I mean, I put my school that I went to in Jamaica, but unfortunately have a high school here with the same name. So I was denied a job because they couldn't find any record of me going to the school. And I have no way of disputing it anyway. Back home, I did have some certificates, but we lost them. We had a storm, and then those certificates, although we put them up, they got wet. And I never tried to retrieve them to get them back. Yes, and when I tried, they couldn't find any trace of them. So those just lost, gone with the wind.
I took the babysitting jobs because I believe those were my only options. And so many of the jobs I took, if I really had thought about it, I shouldn't have taken it.
if you are probably, I'm not gonna say educated or skilled would help you. I think it's more the desire to succeed that will help you. Yeah, because I've seen people coming here with a lot of degrees, and because of that, they feel like, oh no, I'm not supposed to do that. But I didn't care. I was ready to do any type of job, but I know I'm gonna start there, but I'm not gonna stay. I'm not gonna stay. Whatever type of job I had to do, I'm gonna do it because I need cash, I need money. I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna look for more opportunity.
I had no one to take care of my son. He was always with me. and everyone else was working. So you quickly learn that America was a place that everyone is always working or holding down a couple of jobs. So my in-laws, everyone was holding a job down. And so being an F2 status, the wife of an F1, meant that I couldn't have the freedom of working. I couldn't have the joy of working. My job was actually just taking care of my son.
Actually, my first job, I got my first job because I was bilingual. I speak French. When I was looking for a job, I had a contract job, like an office assistant. And once again, because I didn't know how things operate in the US, and an agency sent me to that job. And I was working with the people. I thought I was working for them, but not for them. I was working for the agency. So one day, my daughter wasn't feeling well, so I called the lady in the office and tell her, my daughter is not feeling well, so I can't come to work today. And a few minutes later, the agency called me, oh, you're not supposed to go to that job. Because I didn't know I was supposed to report my absence to the agency, not to that company because I wasn't working for them. Just side story. So I wanted to have a job, and I was thinking, okay, I did finance. Whenever I look for finance job, they were asking experience, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I have that people would need? I know I speak French. I speak Creole. So I went on Indeed, and in the search bar, I put French. And I got this job pop up.
I didn't know where to go. I think the second or third day after being here, I had an aunt who lived about maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles down the road from where we were. And I had gone to see that aunt. It is through her that everybody is here. May her soul rest, right? She is the matriarch of the family. And so she lived down the street, and we had gone to visit her. And her daughter-in-law's husband was there. And I had the opportunity to meet him. I'm a questioning person. That's just how I am. I like to ask people what they do, where they work, who are they, kind of thing. I've always been inquisitive, partly my downfall, but yes. So I had met him, her husband, and he told me, I remembered he told me that he was the manager for KFC. So when I was told, now you're in America, go find yourself a job, I called my aunt. I got the phone number for him. I called him up and I asked him for a job. When I asked him for a job, he didn't give me a job. He put me on to another manager and told me to ask for an interview. And so I called the manager up and I asked for an interview, to which she granted me an interview, and that's how I ended up at KFC.
Volunteering became my joy because I learned new skills. Learned and met new people. It became something that was like, it's a global response to everything. I was able to work at WHYY, was able to bring my son. We were able to do the television drive. And I felt like there were skill sets inside of me that was buried. Things that I love to do, and I didn't know that I loved doing it. I doing the historical houses, and I was going and going. I kept it moving. That was my motto.
Here, what I try to do, I try to adapt myself to the opportunities. So opportunities that I found here, they shape my career, the where I go. Okay, when I came here, people were saying, okay, go to nursing. You're gonna make a lot of money. Honestly, I didn't want to be a nurse. Even back in Haiti, my parents wanted me to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a doctor. So when I came here, people said, oh, you don't go to nursing school because you like it. You are an immigrant, and this is nursing is this is the opportunity. That's where you make money. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should. I got my bachelor's degree evaluated. They gave me the credential. They gave me the equivalence. So my bachelor's degree got transferred here. So the opportunities that I see shape my career, change my career trajectory. I went for my project management certification. I became a PMP, working in technology.
Issues of belonging and community are intricately woven into the fabric of the Caribbean immigrant story. Participants' stories demonstrate the complexities of navigating what it means for immigrants to feel as if they belong, and showcase the importance of people who help them along the way.
Arriving here did my identity because I now become an immigrant. But of course, an immigrant in a good way, as a legal immigrant here. It's really you living in another one's country. You have no friends except your family. And everywhere you go, you meet someone strange you don't know. Go to the supermarkets, you hear different type of languages. Sometimes you don't even understand. You go to work and the same thing come up. Or speak and you don't understand. And even the language is different. Although we speak this English, but you have American and English, and they speak differently. The same words, they call it differently. Spell the same way, but it's pronounced differently. Back home, say we are Jamaicans. We're not immigrant, we are homies. Yeah, it is.
Living here as an immigrant with little to no English, learning the culture, learning the system, building your credit, definitely different. And you have to be very strong. My determination to really overcome those barriers, whether it's language, culture, race. It's yeah, definitely you have to get that desire to succeed and that desire to make it, to say, okay, I move here. I know things are not going to be easy, but whatever come my way, I will face it and succeed.
In every area since I've joined the service and before, I realized that I've had to work twice as hard, or 3 times or 4 times as hard, because one things doesn't come easy, but you're looked at as a certain you're looked at a certain way. You're an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. I'm Black. I'm female. And so those 3 things, one of those things is hard enough, but to have 3 and to try to find your place in a space where it's not conducive for you, it's kind of difficult. And so I've had to deal with that throughout and remember always in the back of my head, you have to work hard. When others are sleeping, you can't sleep. When others are having fun, you can't have as much fun. You can pretend to have fun, but once you finish with having fun with them, it's okay, they can go on, but you have to go do what is necessary just to stay on par with them, whether you're smarter or not smarter.
So I would say culture is important. Culture is what connects people. Whether you are Black, whether you are white, it's your culture is important, right? When I meet, for example, someone from Africa, like I have a Nigerian neighbor, the food that they eat, it's kind of similar to our food. So we are experiencing the way they cook it. So really that connects us. I think there should be an intersection where we meet halfway, even if we don't share the same culture. So we're going to meet halfway. We don't speak the same language, but there are so many similarities that I can find with, talking to someone from Jamaica, someone from Trinidad, someone from Nigeria, someone from Cameroon, even the Dominican Republic. Although we are different, we don't have the same color, but the food, the music, the habits, I believe it's also the culture, not the, how can I say race? Maybe a white person with the same culture, we could have, found that intersection. So I would say it's more cultural, maybe. Yeah, it's the culture.
You talk about language, and it's not just language, but it's cultural experiences too. It's way of life, and when you live in the intersection too with Black America and the tension of white America too, the predominant culture, there are certain ways in certain parts of America, if you do certain things, it's more punishable. It's quickly punishable. And I had to learn that because I was more in a white-centered environment that I got punished immediately.
Those were the beginning steps where he showed up, where he was just like creating this path. In December 2000, Bill Clinton signed a paper, signed some law, signed something. I couldn't tell you what it was. It was God. So I didn't know about this. My brother called me and he said, if you can ask Dana and Mark to sponsor you and you wouldn't have to go back to Trinidad, but you got to file between December 1st and April 15th. So I was like, I started praying. I was like, oh my God. So I went, so I said, I used to eat dinner with them. So we were sitting on our dinner time and I said, I found out from the church, I didn't even say my brother, to be honest with you. I said, I found out from the church that I can be sponsored without having to return to Trinidad if I file that between, December and February and April. And they said, oh, that's great. Well, oh my gosh, what can we do? And I said, well, I'll have to find a lawyer. Well, 4 days later, they found me a lawyer. And I remember Dana saying to me, oh, we're going down to see Terry in somewhere in Manhattan, the lower Manhattan. And I had a baby and the baby beyond strapped on me and she had a baby and we went down to the lawyer's office and I'm sitting in the office and the lawyer is asking me all these questions like, do you have kids and do you have property in Trinidad and blah, blah, blah. And she went over the law and said, yes, if you file between here and here and I'm answering, no kids, no this, no that. She's like, oh, this is going to be easy. Like, I couldn't even believe it. I couldn't even process it. The whole thing was $8,000. And I remember saying, oh my God. So I went home and I'm not thinking, I went down to my apartment and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to tell Mark and Dana to take out $100 out of my money every week until I pay them off, and I'll ask them if they could pay for it for me. And I'm working out a plan, and I'm writing down if I pay them $100 and if I pay $200 a week, or how does it work, and when I will pay them off. And a couple of days later, Dana says, "Oh, Giselle, by the way, we're gonna pay the lawyer."
People don't know, as immigrants, things that we are facing when we move here in the US. Back home, I would have, my cousin, my aunt to watch my baby. But I didn't have no one in daycare would wait a lot on our budget. And like a 6 month, 6 weeks baby, taking him to the daycare. So, yeah. So she helped me. She watched the baby for me until probably he was like 9 months or maybe a year. Yeah. Her name was Mommy. I call her Mommy. I never, one day I asked her for her name and she told me her name is Gladys, but I call her Mommy till this day.
The remittance culture is an indelible aspect of the Caribbean immigrant experience, and the stories that participants share both reinforce and challenge this discourse in a manner that dismantles stereotypical dichotomies of American abundance and Caribbean poverty.
I knew what my responsibilities were when it comes to my mom and the rest of my siblings that I left back home. So she was happy on the one hand, she was sad on the other hand, and expectant, if you will.
Yes, I did participate in Western Union, and what's the other one called? MoneyGram, and sending stuff. Because you came to America, we heard it's the land of lots of cheap stuff, especially during the holidays. We heard that after, and now we know for sure, after every major holiday, the prices get slashed by 50 to 75%. So we learned how to shop around that time. God provided everything that we needed. And then when I went shopping, I was able to get those things for my son. And I realized the value of getting it. So if I can get it for me, then I can get it for my family back home. So I would pack barrels, and I learned how to do the packing of the barrels over the years. Main source of doing that. I couldn't send much money in the beginning while I got settled, but eventually, off and on, I would send money to my family because most of my family was grown. My siblings were already grown by then. My grandmother, everyone had the ability to take care of themselves. And they were living in poverty, and they would need the things that I have here. So I think the most important thing was to send the barrels, because the new clothing, the joy of getting the size stuff that you have, or multiple in the same type of clothing is such an important thing. So I did participate in sending barrels and sending money to my family. Up till this day, I feel a measure of responsibility that I have to do it. So I will personally give money. I will personally send barrels. Or when I go to vacation, it's about 25% is my clothing and everything, so 75% is for everyone else. And they're waiting for it. And they know that I'm a giver, so they know that they're expected. And when I get there, even if I have like 2 barrels I send, it just feels like it's never enough.
So even though I wasn't making a lot of money, you still felt like you had, if you felt like you failed people if you didn't send money home, right? And so even like a barrel, people were expecting barrels. And I sent my sister, after she she got pregnant, I sent her a barrel for my nephew and other barrels. And I had to tell her, I said, I'm not a barrel person. One day I had to stop it. I was like, I'm not the person to be walking the streets and filling barrels. It's not me. You're not going to get that from me. And that was kind of disappointing to her, because the culture was that's what you do. You go to Western, you send money, and you send barrels.
what I would like to bring is not just clothing, but services, which you cannot send in a barrel. You know, dental services and everything that you see. Lots of other things that I do here that is possible. If it's possible, I can send it back home. That would be great.
I didn't have to because my parents, they had a good situation. Um, so I did it. Maybe I can send to my brother sometimes, people that I knew. So we didn't have to send money back home a lot.
I changed location from one country to the next. But then we're always looking forward to better things. The one side of the grass is always green on the other side. Anyway, trust me, up here the grass is green because they always water it. People always want to go to America. It's a dream. Always want to go to America. You wake up, you want to go to America. You sleep, you want to go to America. You dream you're in America. So being in America, friends back home said, okay, he's in America, must get help. So everybody want to call and tell me, I need this, I need that, I need the other. But they still don't understand. In America, you don't have a breadfruit tree. Not where I am. You understand? Back home, I could climb a breadfruit tree, climb a coconut tree. Oh my. So many things we have back home. Lovely things. Here, it's not that you have to buy everything.
For the immigrant, home is a complicated construct. However, many Caribbean immigrants to the U.S. have managed to carve out home spaces in their new country.
I mean, I'm home away from home. You get what I mean? I'm home away from home. So whatever it is, I'm always home. I may be working out, but I'm home. Come home, have a lovely family home, and that's it.
I would say this is home. New York is home. And I lived in a few places. I would say New York is home.
Mhm.
But I would say within my home, I have how can I put it? If you came to my home, you would see Trinidad reflected in my home. In what I cook, in things that I have around the house, you would know that I am from Trinidad and I am not originally from the country besides my accent. But because I think even though I don't perceive myself ever going back to live in Trinidad, which I think is a sad point for my sister, I also think that Trinidad lives here in this home. So it's a merging of the two worlds. Yeah, I look around and I see Trinidad reflected, in my life. I have Trinidad up there, like all around I'm sitting in the office now, Trinidad all around.
My life is not where I want it to be, but I think I'm on the right path, and there's no such thing that life is some stories. It's a series. It's not a movie. It's a series because there's no end. I feel like every season of my life, I decided that I'm gonna enjoy every season. Right now, my life in the US I'm enjoying every season. Yeah. Let's make it simpler. I'm enjoying every season, what comes next. I'm just the light every 100 miles, I can see the light, and I think I'm discovering myself. I'm still learning.
Being in Philadelphia, it just felt like being back home, just out in the street and where we have actually a lot of our work that I'm currently doing now. It felt like a piece of back home. I felt like I could retreat because I'm more on the quiet side. And so I felt like there was a space where I can retreat and feel like I'm safe. And then there was that urban edge.
Challenges are balanced with opportunities, and our participants share stories of success and purpose.
Yeah, the US is a great country. You got so many opportunities. And if you know how to seize them, how to utilize these opportunities, definitely you can succeed.
I am working on a doctorate right now. And my sister came to visit me. My sister's always here, but she came sometime last year, and she said to me, she saw me type in a paper for the doctor, and I was like, oh God, I can't do this. This is too much. And I was just like losing my mind. And she said, well, your dreams are fulfilled. And I said, really? She's like, yeah. She said, when you were like 8 or 9, you used to say you're going to walk on a university with a backpack, on a campus with a backpack. And I said that? And she's like, yeah, you used to always say, I'm going to walk on a campus with a backpack. And I said, oh my God. So in my dissertation now, I dedicated to her, and I say, thank you for reminding me of my dream to walk on a campus with a backpack.
I got that image immediately that there was a whole crowd behind me. And I prophesied and I said, don't you dare do that. And I just said what I said. There is a whole army behind me. So now, fast forward, I did not know that I was going to be serving immigrants. That's the army that's behind me. That's the people. Because you have prepared me. You've imprinted on my heart how they will always feel. How immigrants in America who are undocumented, who are marginalized, ostracized, and when during political battles, how you treat them, it's forever imprinted in my heart, how I got treated, and the army that's behind me that I'm serving. I was always about service for the people.
I want to be more involved in my community, helping other people. I founded a nonprofit organization, We Settle Rise Network, where I really want to help new immigrants coming in the US to really integrate, because I think integration was until today, I feel like I'm not fully integrated. I'm not fully integrated. I feel like there are some part of the US culture that I didn't assimilate. I know I'm not going to assimilate everything, but my fellow immigrants, the new people coming here, the struggles that I went through, I want to make things easier for them. There are some mistakes that I made. Really, if I knew things that I know today, I would have never made those mistakes.
My name is Dr. Nisha Terry Young, and I'm an immigrant from Jamaica. Having lived in the United States of America for the past 15 years, I often describe myself as a Jamaican or an immigrant citizen. I come to this project as both a researcher who believes in the importance of amplifying immigrant narratives and an immigrant who has her own experience of the immigration journey. As a Black Caribbean immigrant to the United States, you see, I've had to navigate the complex challenges of finding myself in a new place. And as an educator, I have witnessed my immigrant students as they too navigated these identity challenges. And I noted again and again that they rarely got the opportunity to tell their own stories. Too often, they had their stories told for them instead of by them. My intersectional identity as a Black Caribbean immigrant and my experience working with immigrants who yearned for the space to tell their own stories have engendered within me a passion and a sense of urgency for amplifying the authentic narratives of Caribbean immigrants in ways that allow these stories to interact with and disrupt dominant discourses about Caribbean immigrant identity.
Hello, my name is Tanisha Dacus, and I'm an immigrant from Jamaica. As a trained labor economist, I've always been deeply connected to the immigrant community, understanding firsthand what it means to assimilate into a new country. After a decade of living in the United States, the concept of home has become a complex idea for me, as it often does for many immigrants. When I returned to Jamaica, both the country and I have changed. Here in the US, I also don't feel entirely American. This journey, this in-between space, led me to create this documentary, driven by my desire to uncover and share the unique stories of Caribbean immigrants like myself. I wanted to explore how we navigate finding work, negotiating wages, accessing childcare, and building lives in a country that often feels unfamiliar. What I discovered went far beyond these challenges. I am honored to have been a part of this project, and I believe it will offer understanding and support to so many of us who are part of the Caribbean diaspora in the United States.
Maya Angelou once said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." Being able to provide a platform for these untold stories about the Caribbean immigrant experience was profound and inspiring. We gained so much insight from our participants, and we're excited about the impact that these stories will have as we share them with the wider society.